Hey folks, it's Rabbi Shmuel Pollan with the Light Unto the Nations show. Thank you so much for being with me. And this is the video to end all videos. This is the solution to everything. And I just think about stuff and it gets clearer and clearer. And now it's as clear as it's ever been. And I'm not even going to ask you to like this video or subscribe to this channel. I'm going to ask you to just share this video with someone you care about because I think it can make huge breakthroughs in their life when they know the solution to everything. And it's not because I'm so smart and I have a trademark on the truth. I think I know everything, but God has a trademark on the truth. He revealed himself to 3 million people a couple thousand years ago, and before Moses and philosophers and beggars, and everyone saw God together. And one thing that God wanted you to know is that he is one. And if God is the answer, then unity is the answer. And that's what we're going to say, that the answer to every problem is unity with a capital U. So let's give some examples, and then we'll dive into how this unity with a capital U is applied to every aspect of life. So first, let's take the example of a game. In a game, one player wants to defeat the other player. And that's the first kind of unity. The winner takes the loser, the chess player checkmates the other player, and it's over. That side has won. So that's the lower kind of unity, and it's not pleasant for the one who lost, and even for the one who did win, they get kind of an ego about it, and it's not ideal for either party. Then you realize, hey, it's just a game. Now, this is unity with a capital U. It's just a game, just as much for you as it is for me. It is only a game. But at that point, you might not play very hard because you realize it's only a game. But no, if you really think about it, because of the fun involved, the enjoyment involved, you will actually play your heart out. It's like having the arcade give you an extra round without putting in a token, and you just enjoy that game as much as possible, and you play as hard as you can because it's enjoyable, because it's fun, and because you enjoy the competition. But you don't hate the opponent. You don't get an ego about it, and you don't get upset about it when you lose because it's all just a game. And you still play as hard as you can, and that is unity within diversity. That's the unity with a capital U, which coexists with diversity and actually unites the opposites in the diversity. Let's give another example. We have the Talmud, which takes 7 years to learn if you are really on top of your game. For most people, it would take a lifetime to learn. So many disputes in the Torah, so many disputes in the Bible. The Bible is so simple, but they come up with so many disputes. And what makes this really amazing is that the Talmud says that Elu ve'elu divrei Elokim chayim. These ones and these ones, even though they're debating, they are all the word of the living God. Even though they're both the word of the living God, we must know how to act. We must know how to behave. And that's called paskening. We pasken like Beis Hillel and not like Beis Shammai, the house of Hillel and not the house of Shammai. And that can change from circumstance to circumstance. But both of them are right. We cannot say one is right and one is wrong. We cannot say one is godly and the other one is not godly. The only situation is that in this circumstance, we do like one particular person and not like the other particular person. We go that way. It's called halacha. The halacha decides on these disputes and tells you which way to behave in your generation. And halacha can change from generation to generation. So we have, again, unity, that they're both true, within diversity, that we will play the game a certain way. We will play hard. We will paskin like a certain opinion, and we will go with it with full force, but at the same time knowing that the other person is also right. It's just a game. They're both right. That's how the Talmud works. Now, let's take this concept of unity with a capital U that we realize with a game and we realize with the disputes of the Talmud and apply it to other situations, other aspects of life. And let's start with personal development, my personal favorite. And we have in personal development a school of thought known as the law of attraction, which is you should dress the way you're going to dress when you're successful, and you should talk the way you're going to talk when you're successful. You should expect the best for you, and then you will attract the best into your life. That's the law of attraction. But what that really is, if we could just break it down, is high expectations. High expectations. You're expecting the best will happen, and then if it doesn't happen, you're disappointed. That's why many people are disappointed with law of attraction products. But I have a product that will make everyone happy, and that's at theoccultsecret.com. But we have high expectations being taught. And then we have low expectations being taught, which I often promote. If you have low expectations, then when you're whatever, no matter what happens, you will be happy because you weren't expecting much. So whether you got the yellow bike or the red bike, you had low expectations. You weren't expecting any color. So whatever color you got is going to work for you. So what's the answer? What's the unity with a capital U? Write down both expectations. Expect both things to happen. You are not limited to one side or the other. Expect the best, but also be prepared for the worst. Mentally prepare yourself for all scenarios, as many scenarios as possible, whether it be good or bad or something else in between. Two things can exist at the same time. You can expect two things at the same time. Now, the other thing about personal development is about your rules, which Tony Robbins talks about. We have rules in our mind about I will be happy when this happens. I will be sad when this happens. We have all these rules. And the truth is you can break those rules. You can change those rules any way you want. So you can say, I'm not happy until every single one of my YouTube comments is positive. So one negative, nasty comment really gets my goat. And I'm unhappy because of one comment. Or you can change that rule to say, I will be happy with my video if I feel like I did a good job, no matter what people say. You, in your mind, change that rule. Well, that is unity with a capital U. What you're doing is you're showing that your rules, which you thought were so in stone, are actually totally malleable and flexible. You're showing a unity. You're making them watery. You're making them be able to go to the right, to the left, to the middle, to the up, to the top, to the down. You can go every single way, which, by the way, is a song that is sung by Hasidic Jews, that God is up, up, down, down, right, left, and all around, because God is unity, so he can go all around in diversity, unity in diversity. So you can know that your rules are just your rules. They're just, the unity is that they are created by you, and therefore you can go back into diversity and create any rule you specifically want. So you get the rule, but this time you realize that the rule is just the same as any other rule. So it's watery. You have both things. You also have to watch out for your metaphors, like saying life is a movie instead of saying like life is a grind. Or you can say I'm the struggler, I'm the learner, and that way when you lose the by 1 second at the Olympics, if you're the struggler or you're the learner, you're still going to be happy. You're still going to be with it because you know that that is your story, and you can again make it watery, make it unified. You can make any story that you want around what's happening in your life, and it will affect your emotions. It will decide how you feel and therefore decide how you behave. So you can be united by the fact that you can feel however you want based on setting up your mental attitude the way that you want. There's another idea in personal development of having alter egos. So like Sasha Fierce, Beyonce, going out and creating a persona, creating another person that you act like to get her to dance promiscuously when she really is just a church girl. So there's a debate between the people who believe in alter egos and the people who believe in authenticity. Because if you believe in alter egos, you're pretending. You're trying to be something that you're not, right? But if you're authentic, then you're being exactly who you are, and so you shouldn't do any of this pretending. Now, what's the unity of this? The unity is that you are you. You are beyond the alter ego and the authenticity. You are a higher essence than both of them. You are a soul. You are an infinite soul. And that's the unity with an upper U. And then you can go into any pretend characters that you want to because you know they are part of you. They are actually part of you. It is actually authentic. Don't think that because you're going into another character that you've lost yourself. You can actually be yourself through that character because it really is coming from within you. It's not coming from anywhere else but you. Let's talk about weight loss. People are looking for solutions. We know people have a problem that they can't keep to their diets. They go for a certain amount of days and then they give up. and there's all kinds of problems with diets that people have. They try to find, should I go less carbs? Should I go more fat? And what you need to do is spend your time doing the research, and the doctors need to do a better job of this, because the doctors are spending their time figuring out how to put out things like high fructose corn syrup and a bunch of ingredients that we can't even read, and that's making us fat. To eat, our body cannot handle those kinds of synthetic ingredients. What they should be finding out is how to create food that is both healthy and tastes good. It's a saying of my mentor, and it's a saying of this Talmud, that if you didn't find, you didn't really search. Again, if you didn't find, you didn't really search. If you really search for a solution to come up with food and diets and meal plans that actually people actually want, that people actually keep to, that actually make you lose weight, that's the capital U of unity. To be able to go beyond all these different diets and look to the unity, which is the ability of the doctors and the nutritionists to come up with new kinds of ways of putting foods together, or ingredients together, or spices together, that make you lose weight, and you can stick to it. You have to be able to have the unity within the diversity. So you choose a certain way, you choose a certain diet. You also recognize that there are many other diets that could be effective and you are not using, because that's not the way you go. It's not that the other diets are wrong. It's just not the way we want to go, because we want to succeed and stick to it. So the science has failed us. And economics. Let's talk about economics. How about a flat tax? I'm not an economist, but it seems to me that the IRS code and the delinquency of people paying their taxes would be a lot more simple if they just had to take a simple 10%. What's your net? Take 10%. Just like the Torah demands, just like the Torah requires, you can give 20% if you want to, but you minimum have to give 10%. And what if that applied to billionaires? Because the billionaires don't seem to pay much tax at all. So if Bill Gates is worth 120 billion and he gave 12 billion, he actually gave the 10% that everybody else has to give. So in other words, you pierce the corporate veil. You don't let his corporation to say, well, I'm a corporation, I don't have to pay taxes. No, you, Bill Gates, are a person just like everybody else is a person. You have to pay out of your net earnings from your personal wealth $12 billion. And that would be enough to solve hunger in the United States and homelessness. And then imagine what you could do with the next billionaire and the next billionaire and the next billionaire. You could accomplish so much if they would just pay their 10%. Why should they pay less than everybody else who needs the money even more? What about the hookup culture and the depravity going on in the clubs and the bars, and women sleeping around and sleeping on the first night and not even knowing people and just becoming big time sluts? So it's up to the woman, really, if we think about it, because the guys are always trying to get the woman in bed. Men will sleep with pretty much anybody who's willing to sleep with them. So it's up to the woman to have some chastity and to hold back a little bit. And the culture should not promote movies like Friends with Benefits and make it seem okay and make it seem like a good thing. But what's the problem is that the woman is losing her value. It's like inflation. The government can print more and more money, and it seems like you're getting richer, but you're not. You're losing value with every single dollar that you print. Every single guy you sleep with, you are losing value. You are becoming worth less. Your body parts are worth less, and you will feel that in your self-esteem. And if you don't feel it, it's even more sad, because it means the disease has become so bad that you can't even notice it because you're so sick. Let's talk about philosophy. Why suffer? Why do we suffer? Oh, by the way, when it comes to going back to women and men, picking up women, men have a problem picking up women, and they are too nice, and the women don't respect that. And what you need to is to transcend opposites and realize that she just wants an experience. An experience could include bad or good, and she wants both. She wants you to hug her and say, I hate you. She would prefer that to you just being nice all of the time. My notes are a little jumbled here, so I'm getting confused, but let's get back on track. Philosophy, we'll talk a lot about why there is suffering. If there is a good God, why is there suffering? Again, God is reality, God is an experience. So, why is there suffering? Because it's an experience. The same reason you watch horror movies. It's the same reason people do self-harm, which is bad, but they want an experience. They want to feel something, and feeling something means feeling reality, which means feeling God. It means feeling closer to life, to God, to your life source. So everybody wants to be closer to their life source. So therefore we have bad and good, just like the woman wants bad and good. So we have suffering and positivity because that is what makes the experience that much more rich. We want a rich experience. So we want horror movies. We actually want that. Ideally, that will not be the way to go. In the bringing of the unity down into the diversity, in the Messianic era, the suffering will end because we don't really need the suffering to have a rich life experience. But right now, that seems to be what we need and what God needs as well. Not that God has any needs, but there is a certain way that he likes to do things, and for that he has his experiences that he throws down to us. Politics. A liberal, the whole idea is to innovate and to be on the cutting edge, to constantly improve. And a conservative's job and his idea is to conserve what's good. Why do those two things contradict? Why can't you be innovating, looking for more good, while conserving what you already have that is good? Nobody should be called a liberal or a conservative. It is insane. It means you do not understand the topic. Because if you understood the topic, you would be an independent. You would be someone who is just looking for solutions, solution oriented. That's the higher unity with a capital U, comes down into various solutions. Like we should have grants for children, kids, and adults to get awards and money for coming up with solutions that make the government work better and make the country work better and make us work better in the world. And there should be dormitories for the homeless. There shouldn't be anyone on the street. They should have to fill out an application because they have to get their act together. So it's a mix of severity and kindness for the homeless, that they have to meet certain qualifications. But if they do, and those qualifications are quite easy, they just have to get their act together enough to do that. They have to get off the drugs. They have to get off the alcohol. So there will be therapists trying to help them with that, and 12-step programs and stuff like that. So there's severity. They have to go through certain things, but there's kindness in that they will always have a place to stay. Everyone should have a place to stay. That's a bare minimum of survival for the human being, and it should not go unmet. It's a need that should not go unmet. Military spending. So we're fighting against Iran, and Iran's fighting against the United States. And we have a whole situation where we're in a game, right? Where it's like the opponents. So rise above these two opposites and realize that we're supposed to be just solution oriented. We all want peace. And to get to peace, we want to spend also the least amount of money so we have the money to fund everything we want to do for the people and to grow the economy, as we'll talk about soon, ways to grow the economy. But you can actually, if you're solution oriented, you just look at solutions, you just look at it a smart way instead of looking at it a liberal way or a conservative way. You can lower the military spending budget, focus more on intelligence, because if you know what's going on, you can always stop a problem before it even starts. So we should know exactly what Iran is up to. We should have spies up the wazoo. Everyone should have spies. Everyone should know what's going on with everyone, because transparency is good for peace. You stop problems before they start and use science to make weapons that are more powerful and cost less. You can do both. Two things can exist at the same time. Weapons that hit the target and don't hit civilians. I think they already have a lot of weapons like that, but they need to innovate on that front. That's where they need to move. And race relations, that's a big problem. But we must recognize that unity between us, that blacks and whites both bleed red. And some people are a mix of black and white. There is no such thing as just black and white. Everybody is like on a spectrum, and we should recognize that we're all human beings, and we should learn from our kids, as it says in Isaiah, I believe, or maybe it's Malachi, that you will learn from the kids. The kids will bring the parents to the ways of repentance, bring them back to the truth. The kids don't see the difference between black and white. They play with each other just as much as they play with anybody else. So we should learn from the kids, and that we should not see the differences between us. We should see the blood, the humanness. We should recognize the unity with a capital U, that we are human beings. We are a family. Once we recognize that and we accept that, there will be no more race relation problems. What about the problem of the constant, this is again a philosophical problem, why do bad things happen to good people? Well, in this case, we're called light unto the nations. So how does the light happen? How did it originally happen? You rub sticks together, you rub, 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 rub. So you have God, good, and then suffering, suffering, God, God, good, good, suffering, suffering. We are like the sticks that are being rubbed together back and forth, back and forth. The things are going good and they're also not going good. So what happens is a spark comes out of that rubbing of the sticks. A spark that's neither good nor bad, but it's just existence. God exists. Life exists. If you don't want to think of God, life exists so you can experience it, whether it's good or bad. The idea that's true that we want for the Messianic era is that there should be no bad anymore. But we must recognize that while we're here now, the paskening, the way God wants things to go is for a I hate you while I hug you type of experience. He wants things to go bad and good because he wants us to experience life itself and learn to appreciate life itself. The whole idea that two opposites can coexist makes the world watery, is what I call it. It makes it movable and flexible and malleable. And it's hard when it needs to be. When it comes down into the diversity, you got to understand this concept. You raise up to the unity, the capital U, and then you go bring the unity back down to diversity. So the diversity coexists with unity. So you wind up with a very certain opinion, because in Judaism, when we paskin, when we say this is the way to go, that is the way that we go, and you cannot go any other way. So maybe right now, conservative is more the way to go. Of course, you have to distinguish between all the things that conservatives say and which is right and which is wrong. But in general, that may be the way to go because this generation needs more ties to tradition. This generation needs more ties to the past. It's becoming off the rails with its innovation. And as you could argue, and it's not even an argument, that transgenderism, changing your sex or dressing the opposite way, cross-dressing, is not okay according to the Torah. So we know that that is not okay. That's not the way that we go. We understand it. We appreciate it. We know why you need to do it. We know it's real, but it's not the way that we do things. God is choosing for you the fact that this is an urge you need to fight rather than an urge you need to give into. Some urges are good, some urges are negative. So we need to recognize that the Torah has the say-so on these topics because it has the biggest godly revelation. In politics, we need to have actual unity with a capital U, not Joe Biden saying, I'm going to be a president for all Americans. I'm going to create unity. And then only appointing to his cabinet Democrats. How could that be? How could you be unifying people and only appointing Democrats to your cabinet? A decent unified administration would appoint both Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, and Independents and Green Party candidates. It would have everything in it. So everyone who specializes in what they do, the Green Party specializes in the environment. Let them do that. Let that be their job. And we will talk about to other parties about other things, but every administration should be filled with Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians, etc. They all bring out a certain strength in each other. You have to come down one certain way. China what do you do about China? They're a threat. They're trying to take us over, or they're trying to take over the internet. Work with them, unity. Work with them to make more money on both sides, while at the same time punishing them in certain ways. So you do work together because you want to advance the cause of both economies growing. But at the same time, there are penalties and punishments for civil rights abuses. You have a civil rights tax, so they could make more money if they behave and they treat their people in a humane way. Marriage. Everybody has a problem with marriage because the divorce rate is skyrocketing. It's over 50% of marriages are not working out, and betrayal is so common. But one thing that could help is unity with a capital U. Say your argument, and then you have to then make a rule that they have to say your argument, and you have to agree with the way that they say your argument, and vice versa. So be able to state the other person's argument. That makes it watery. That makes it, rubbing the sticks, going back and forth from your perspective to their perspective. And then the spark comes out, spark that you are married and you have a unconditional love relationship. That relationship transcends. And that's why when in Judaism, the groom and the bride have a chuppah, a canopy above them, because the unity has to be above them. The unity that you are a family, and you are making a family, and you want to do what's best for your kids. That also unifies them. That should unify both of you. So doing what's best for the kids should, in theory at least, create a way for you to go that would satisfy both parties. So, which would happen when you each state each other's statements. When you each state each other's arguments, you'll be able to satisfy both of them, and you will have unity with a capital U within diversity. Sex, you must have sex that's good for both parties. Unity with a capital U. And if you didn't find a way to make it successfully pleasurable for both parties, you didn't search enough. Go back and search again. Talk about discipline, keeping yourself in line, keeping yourself to your New Year's resolutions, staying on track. Realize that you are infinite, and that's the unity with a capital U. That means you can do anything you want to do. There are no limits on you. That you are not limited by the past. You are not limited by the future. At the same time, you can take what's good from the past and good from the future, which is the fact that you have done this before in some small sense. So you can do it again in a larger sense because it's the same thing. That's the unity. I'm doing the same thing now as I was doing before. It's not new. I'm just building on the past, and be like the liberal and the conservative. Innovate and also take what's good and keep that in place, and innovate at the same time. Conditional love versus unconditional love. People don't know, should I love someone even if they betray me? That's unconditional love. But if I only have love that's conditional, that doesn't seem right, because then I'm only judging them based on my standards, and I'm only loving them as much as they do well. And that's a hard burden for them to bear. You're putting a lot of pressure on them to do well when your love is so conditional. And kids don't like conditional love. They want to be hugged and know that it's okay no matter what happens. Do both. Do conditional love and unconditional love. Unity with a capital U. Be there for them when they fall, and also motivate them and push them until they reach the highest heights. That's called being a real man or a real woman, not somebody who's one-sided, not someone who's just conditional or unconditional. Do both. They're both right, and they're both one thing. They're both just being good. You are just making them to be the greatest person they can be. That's your goal, to make them great. That's the unifying you in unity. And do that while you also preserve what they're doing right, and then push them until they can do more, and love them even when they fall. I know most people find it shocking, but I actually believe the earth is flat, and that's the way I have gone. But I do believe that there is merit to the arguments that the earth is a sphere. And it seems that in this generation, we should go with that. That's the way we should go. But it's one unity because God transcends opposites. So he can actually make the earth appear flat from our perspective so that we can enjoy it better and we don't have to feel like we're falling off of a ball. And from space, he can make it look another way, like the earth, because God can make an elephant go through the eye of a needle. He can transcend opposites, he can make miracles. Okay, learning. Let's talk about learning. Be able to say it in your own words. That's how you learn. Take this video and replay it and say it in your own words. That's how you're going to really learn it, because the more words you can say it in, the more flexible you can make it, the more the higher truth comes out that it has a certain meaning. It has a higher meaning, which is not in any words. So you got to get over this specific fixed way of reading a certain text, get beyond it by going into other ways of saying the same thing. You will get to the unity capital with the capital U by realizing the meaning which transcends both types of expressions of the thoughts in the book or video or whatever it is. That's what I've got for now. There's much more to say. There are many more topics that need to be unified with the capital U. And you share this video. Sometimes my videos get 5 views. Sometimes it gets 5,000 views. This one needs to get 100,000 views. Let's make that happen. And then we'll get subscribers as well who will watch further videos, because we will go further with this. We will go further in unifying the world, and we will not stop until it's all implemented and we're actually experiencing the times of the Messiah. May he come immediately. God bless.